So welcome everyone to the Schönfeld Auditorium. I'm extremely pleased to welcome you this afternoon and also our listeners in the live stream. I hope you can hear and see us well. It's a wonderful occasion today, and I particularly welcome, of course, our guest of honor, who is still writing his speech, but that's good. Welcome, Andreas Pinkwart. It's a pleasure to welcome you here on this occasion. And let me start by quoting our guest of honor. It is you who said that TUD could be an enabler, and we are an enabler, agile and innovative to tackle major societal challenges such as climate change, resource scarcity, demographics, digitization, and AI. That is a quote from you, I think, in the kickoff session for TUD Excite. TUD, Dresden University of Technology, indeed has a very long tradition. Many of you know that we are approaching our 200th anniversary, and we have a long tradition of doing technology transfer at a time when no one called it that. Let me just, pick arbitrary examples. Going back to the 19th century, it was here in Dresden that the first functioning steam locomotive in Germany did its first drive between Dresden and Leipzig. Many people don't know. It was here that the first wide-spanning and high-reaching bridges were constructed and then were actually built in the Vogtland, and they are still standing, I'm happy to report. And then in the 20th century, many people don't know, in the late 20th century, it was actually here that the knowledge structure that still forms the basis for Wikipedia was constructed and invented here in our very own university. And I'm extremely pleased to see Carl Leo in the audience because, of course, you know, Carl, what I'm going to say now, that, of course, the OLEDs, organic light-emitting diodes, which you all use every day, whether you know it or not, in your phone, were invented here, and we have the inventor in the midst of us. So it's, we are a place of innovation, and we have to let people know about it and create the structures that make it possible for all the creative minds on our campus to make it easy and possible to take the next steps of bringing it into production, whatever they invented. Now, just a little bit larger circles about the strength of innovation and coming to the topic of tonight. It's just this spring that the German Economic Institute presented its statistics on the number of patents registered by German universities during the last 10 years. And you may think, oh, we know who is first. No, you don't know. TUD is first. It wasn't TU Munich. It wasn't RWTH Aachen. It wasn't KIT Karlsruhe. It was TUD Dresden. So it seems that a lot of innovation is going on, and on average we produce a patent almost every 5 days. I always like these breakdowns because they are so impressive. Linking to this vision of tackling the major challenges of nowadays, of the 21st century, it is therefore only logical that the topic of technology transfer plays and has to play a fundamental role in the self-understanding of our university, in also our strategy of excellence. And so this is when Andreas Pinkwart enters the stage, with fanfare, of course. And indeed, let me tell you, we are extremely honored that we were able to recruit Andreas Pinkwart for the Excellence Professorship of Innovation and Technology Management in March 2023, together with our Faculty of Economics, of course. And since he joined, he has been working tirelessly, and that's not an exaggeration, to integrate TUD's previous technology transfer activities, which were numerous and successful, in one central facility, and that is TUD Excite. It's a very innovative manner, that TUD Excite creates and aims to create synergies, strengthen the innovative chain, and will allow TUD to take the next necessary steps in a very successful history of tech transfer. And this very successful history is linked strongly with our Faculty of Economics and its current Dean, Michael Schäfzig, as well as, of course, TUD's Office of Research, where our patent office had its home before we created TUD Excite. Now, Andreas Pinkwart, I'm not going into a detailed laudatio of his CV. We will hear this later by Michael Schäfzig and Ronald Tetzlaff. But let me just highlight a couple of things that just really keep impressing me. So, of course, Andreas Pinkwart is a scientist, and he has proven himself academically in his expertise in innovation management and entrepreneurship and the research and science of it. But he has been magnifying the science and the results of that area of scientific inquiry by the political roles that he has been taken on in the course of his biography. And so not only with regard to economic issues, but also with regard to higher education policy. He also was a pioneer in paving the way for international specialists to come to the German labor market at a time where blue card and immigration law was way out there. No one wanted to hear about it. So it's major marks that Andreas Pinkwart left in these areas as well. And last but by no means least, many may not know that he has been the one who really pushed the Deutschland Stipendium to success and to the finish line and make it just a standard feature of our life at German universities nowadays. So that's a major accomplishment. Thank you very much for that. Now, one aspect of higher education is particularly close to his heart in all of his functions, if I may say this, whether he was a scientist, a politician, a minister in North Rhine-Westphalia or at the federal level, or as rector, founding rector of the Leipzig Graduate School of Management, he always has driven innovation and promoted spin-offs, a true innovation expert, and therefore the perfect match for us at the perfect point in time of our history. And so we really extend a very warm welcome to you, Andreas Pinkwart, as a new member of our TUD community. Now today, Andreas Pinkwart takes us on a journey to delve deeper into one aspect of innovation, and that is the world of patent filing. And indeed, it's an intricate world. You even call it mysteries, so we are very keen on to learn about your unraveling of the mysteries. So the developments of recent years, particularly in the field of digitization, of course, will play and are already playing a major role in this. And they will shape our future, will bring up new opportunities, create synergies that help us to drive forward our culture of entrepreneurship and innovation management. And now I already indicated that I'm extremely pleased to welcome Michael Schäfzig, the Dean of the Economics Faculty, to the stage, and then thereafter, or in whichever order, Ronald Tetzlaff, First, Ronald Tetzlaff, our Chief Officer of Technology Transfer and Internationalization. As you realize, we are agile here as we speak. So I really invite you to the stage, and I'd like, however, before I turn over the podium, thank everyone in the background who has made this happen. Franziska Greim, I'm extremely pleased that I met you today in person, and Christine Milkau from the protocol, Uta Schwarz, the colleague from the Faculty of Business and Economics, and our colleagues of the Communication Office who shepherd the live stream and also the announcements and marketing of this event. And later on, don't go away. After the Q&A, there is a possibility to toast with our guest of honor downstairs. And now the floor is really yours. Thank you.
Dear Professor Staudinger, dear Professor Pinkwart, dear Professor Ševčík, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen, it is a true pleasure and a great honor for me to introduce Andreas Pinkwart, who will be delivering his inaugural lecture momentarily. Introducing Andreas Pinkwart comes with challenge. How do you adequately introduce a personality whose many professional achievements cannot be easily summarized within a few minutes? Let me give it a shot and highlight a few of his outstanding accomplishments. It has been almost a year now when I first met Andreas Pinkwart at the rectorate of TU Dresden and talked to him about the further development of technology transfer at our university. I was immediately struck by his excellent ideas that transpired in that very first conversation and in many others that followed. Following Henry Ford's motto, if you always do what you have always done, you will always get what you have always got. But Professor Andreas Pinkwart has committed himself to new developments in entrepreneurship, innovation management for years now, and he has consistently promoted innovation and spin-offs. After various appointments as a professor, a senior research fellowship in Washington, and after serving as the rector of Leipzig Graduate School of Management, you already heard this, he moved to TU Dresden in 2023 and assumed two positions. One, as the chair for innovation and technology management, the other as the director of the Center for Excellence for Innovation Transfer and Entrepreneurship, short TUD Excite, at TUD Dresden University of Technology. Before coming to Dresden, Andreas Pinkwart has held many important positions. Chief among them is his appointment as Minister for Innovation, Science, Research and Technology, and as Deputy Minister President of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. He was a member of the Science Council, a chairman of the Conference of Economic Ministers, a member of the Board of Trustees of DAD, and he served on the supervisory and advisory board of several companies and non-university research institutions. Since March of this year, he has been contributing his extensive expertise in innovation management and entrepreneurship, especially in the expansion of technology transfer. On October 20 of this year, he opened TUD Excite, the Excellence Center, in the presence of many well-known guests from Saxony's political and business communities. In both academia and in business, Andreas Pinkwart has a charming and effective way of promoting talent. With his exemplary dynamism and cooperative management style, he has been leading his team with great success ever since. Professor Pinkwart, I have come to know you as a leader who is open to new ideas and who is a great communicator. You have a wonderful ability to listen to different voices, and give different opinions your undivided attention, which I think is something so incredibly important in your field of work. Even when faced with daunting tasks, you develop different ways of solving problems quickly, effectively, and diplomatically. You know how to bring people on board. As Chief Officer, Technology Transfer and Internationalization, I am incredibly excited to be able to work with you and to have you as a partner in the further development of technology and transfer and entrepreneurship here at the TU Dresden. Let me conclude by wishing all of you a pleasant afternoon, evening, and I'm handing the stage over to you, Professor Michael Ševčík. Thank you.
Welcome to all here in the auditorium. The Faculty of Business and Economics at TUD Dresden University of Technology is honored to have Professor Dr. Andreas Pinkwart as a member. As a friendly colleague and longtime cooperation partner, I'm glad. However, first and foremost, this is to highlight some outstanding features of Andreas Pinkwart. We have already gotten to learn about some of his key achievements, and I would now like to put them a bit into context, into my context as I perceive them. A key feature on my mind is that Andreas Pinkwart is a long-standing traveler between sectors. One of the sectors is teaching and researching at universities. The other field is politics, particularly as a member of parliaments and in high state government functions. Andreas Pinkwart performed outstandingly well on both sides of something which we might perceive as a curtain. In moving across and performing, he serves as a role model. Unfortunately, such setting is relatively rare or almost unique. Crossing the curtain may be among your life mottos, as you did it about as often as practically conceivable in a professional lifetime. You have been a member of the North Rhine-Westphalian State Parliament, of the German Parliament's upper house, state minister and professor, each at least 2 times in a non-consecutive manner, meaning that you did it again and again. You moved out and in. You changed and you were accepted again, and you accepted the challenge once again. Many, I shall say, pure politicians would benefit from being less forced to cling to their mission beyond peak effectiveness. Many academics would benefit from more insight beyond their own home sector. Thus, the role model feature is most timely and most relevant. It suits our time as it can help us reconsider the current trend to make academics purer in terms of research rigor as defined by journals, and the ivory tower only. It is relevant by motivating us to be more creative regarding personal next steps, whatever they may be. They may not be as bold, but still we could be maybe more creative at times. Dear Andreas Pinkwart, I would like to thank you for that role model function very much. The concept of crossing a curtain also leads us to transfer or technology transfer, because that's also crossing curtains, maybe from academia or research institutions out to the economic world or to business or to public institutions outside universities. And that has been a long-standing focal point of your research, technology transfer and its entrepreneurial use. Therefore, it is no surprise that your inaugural lecture will also focus on this rich field of science. let's share some personal words. An early notable meeting amongst us was the first Forum Gründungsforschung in Vienna more than 20 years ago. Our contact was less intense when you were a Minister of Science and Vice Prime Minister in North Rhine-Westphalia. Reading in the paper that you would become the rector of HHL after that, with the chair of a familiar denomination, ours was practically the same then, sparked the idea for a joint research project on venture capital. The resulting research efforts and outcomes have been beneficial for years, and it's living up again. Then there was the time where you were Minister of Economics in North Rhine-Westphalia. Fortunately, we did keep contact throughout. We cooked for you in Düsseldorf, you attended my 50th birthday party in Dresden, and my wife and I spent a wonderful evening in your office overlooking Düsseldorf very shortly before the pandemic placed its mark on all of us, and none of that would have been possible very quickly again. After that, you agreed to provide a keynote on the 2022 Forum Gründungsforschung. 23 years later, then Vienna, and this time in Dresden. And that, again, was instrumental, as all of us now at least know. After the keynote, our rector told me that I should win you over for TUD, Dresden University of Technology. At the time, I found that a bit outside the feasible spectrum. Later, our rector told me that the expression on my face stood for keep dreaming. She was about right, and the ball was in her basket for a significant while after that. Then a sequence of really most unusual efforts on the one hand and events on the other hand made it possible to motivate you to join us in Dresden. I hadn't expected that, but it did happen, and that's super fortunate. And our institution explored a new path that we've never tried before in order to achieve this in an unusually rapid fashion and for the first time ever. Dear Andreas Pinkwart, welcome. Your presence is a great honor for all of us, and we look forward to your inaugural lecture now.
Magnificentia, dear Ms. Staudinger, dear Professor Tetzlaff, Spectabilis, dear Michael Šefčík, honorary guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the warm words and the warm welcome. It's unbelievable for me. Thank you. It was great. I'm very pleased about your participation and warmly welcome you to my inaugural lecture this late afternoon. The topic of my lecture is, as you can read, the mystery of patents, what we know and what's left to discover. And we want to start the lecture with a short overview. So these are the points I want to deliver. A brief introduction to patents, the 7 myths about patents, then a case, patents from the Technical University of Dresden, and a short conclusion. So let me start with a brief introduction on patents. We have different domains. Sorry, you can't understand me. You should have shown me. Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry. Wonderful. But you could hear me, isn't it? So it was concentrated. but not for the live stream. Warm welcome to all participants in the live stream. Now I'm here. Thank you so much for your understanding. So we start by the domains of intellectual property rights. There are 5 domains, and we know from copyrights, we know the registered design, the trademarks, trade secrets, and the patents. And today we want only to discuss the 5th domain, the patents. And I want to start with a short definition. It's only one part of the definition. The other parts you will see during the lecture, and they will also be covered with this nice blue background. And the short first definition part is a patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention, which is a product or process that provides, in general, a new way of doing something or offers a new technical solution to a problem. And then there are legal requirements for patents. And I can name here 5 legal requirements, and we start with the first one. It should be no part of prior art, so it should be a novel thing. As you can see with these nice pictures, there was something novel from one horse to the other horse. And then we have a second requirement for patents. This is named not obvious to a person skilled in the art. So it should be an inventive step, and we have here Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, and I have 2 quotes. He mentioned when the first iPhone came on the market, $500, fully subsidized, with a plan. I said, that is this most expensive phone in the world. That was the first comment. And the second was, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. So he was, what we would say, is a person skilled in the art, but he couldn't imagine this real next step, or he didn't like to accept that there is a next inventive step. So that was as a transformation from Nokia to an iPhone, the Apple phone. Then this third legal requirement for patents is that it has to be or can be commercialized, so that you can use it in the production line, or that you can produce new products, as we see here. And the fourth one, and they come the bridge again, here in the picture, the rector named it. This is the Göllstahlbrücke, the so-called Göllstahlbrücke. And this bridge was designed and constructed by our former colleague, Andreas Schubert, in the first half of the 19th century. And he is, or he was an inventor, a human being, so this is also necessary. Then if you want to file a patent, that it must have an inventor. But there are other inventors, very famous inventors from Dresden, not only Andreas Schubert, but we remember also Melitta Benz. Maybe you use it privately too, these coffee filters from Melitta Benz. And the first tooth cream was also invented here in Dresden by Ottomar Heinsius von Meyenburg. He was a pharmacist, and he invented Chlorodont. Chlorodont is not anymore on the market, but we use tooth cream also today, isn't it? So different kinds of inventors from Dresden. And the fifth legal requirement which we have is that it has to be allowed by law that it can be patented, or the other way around. There are products which you can't patent, like native gene and protein sequences, but as it is in different kinds of our daily life, there are regulation, but there are also other opportunities. So in EU, also in the US, biological materials and gene protein sequences identical to those found in nature may be patent protected in certain circumstances. So therefore we need our lawyers and other experts to make sure that these new inventions can be also filed as patents, but it's a critical field where you have to go deeper, that you can fulfill the requirements well. So this is a little bit to give you an understanding of what we mean if we talk about patents. And now, as I introduced to you earlier in the agenda, we come to 7 myths about patents. And I start with the first one. The subject of patents is considered to be, and now the pictures will explain you the myth, dry, dusty, and dreary. So the question is, can this first myth be refuted? Yeah, we hope that we can refute it, isn't it? Because it's our Excite team, we take responsibility for all these issues. And we don't think so that it is dry and dreary and so on. That's a real rich field where we can do a lot of positive, exciting things. Therefore, we would say myth 1 can be refuted due to the power of the invention for problem solving. And I give you a case from TUD, where TUD and the scientists at TUD could really solve societal environmental problems very well. And this is a case of in ovo sexing. You know this. No more chicken shredding worldwide. This is the overall political goal. And we have seen that legislation gave us very clear guidance. So since January last year, the killing of male day-old chicks has been banned in Germany, and since next year, sex determination in ovo before the 7th day of hatching by sorting out eggs with male embryos is allowed. So this is now a field for invention, and we are very happy to say that we have here at TUD the Faculty of Medicine, Carl Gustav Karus. And there's also a company where we can collaborate, and you see here that with CO2 lasers and fluorescence spectroscopy of embryonic blood, we can identify the eggs or the ovosexy, and then we can seal the egg afterwards. Unbelievable for me that this is technically possible, and they fulfill it 10,000 eggs per hour. So that's a real efficient technology, and it has been invented here at TUD, and a lot of patents could be filed. There's a current paper on the market, Trends in Ovosexing Technologies, and there, if you read this nice paper, you will find 8 publications from scientists from TUD, and we have 7 patent families, and they are licensed to a company who will bring this technology on the market so that we can solve this problem much better in our society. Then we come to the next argument, because I think that we can refute the first myth. This is on the inspiring technology and the inventors behind the patents, and I want to come to the case of Heliatech. So here we can see that a new infrared absorber could be invented, and Professor Leo is here. He could explain all of this much better. So I give you only these nice slides where you can read maybe a little bit more about this technology. So we have organic solar cells. We have an excellent absorption in infrared range and high stability. And is it possible, and that's very important, to bring this technology in mass production. And there that's very critical, to bring the powerhouse on the road. That's what you also have to have in mind. And is it just on the market, the technology? Here you can see world's largest organic PV plant with Samsung in South Korea. And on the other hand, a lot of patents could be filed. We had more than 100 patent applications from Heliatech, and TUD transferred approximately 10 property right families to the company. So you see this is a real fantastic work what we can do with patents, because we have to see the excellent technology behind it and the inventors who are really very innovative and creative in that field. So a third argument, because we can refute, is the dynamic development of patent applications worldwide. And here are very short numbers. You see in the blue curve the numbers worldwide for patents. So a very, very strong increase the last years to more than 3 million patents. You see the curve for the EU. You see here the ranking in Europe, the patents which have been filed at the European Patent Office. And the right one is very interesting, because there you see the top 50 universities worldwide and the number of their patents. And this is the statistics for 2021, and you see under the top 50, you have 19 Chinese universities and 18 US universities, only one from Europe, and that's Great Britain. And the most interesting story behind it is, if you compare it with the statistics of the year of 2011, there was only one Chinese university under the top 50, and it was number 47, Tsinghua University at that time. So they speed up very fast in that field. This brings us to another problem, which will be discussed later on too, but here you see worldwide patents must be very attractive, and they are filed intensively. So let us come to the second myth. This is, inventors believe that their invention represents an absolute novelty that did not exist before. Yeah, that's not that easy to defute, I can tell you. Not that easy than with the first myth, because if you ask as an inventor your family and friends, they will also be normally very enthusiastic about the invention and will say, okay, yes, I haven't seen that before, that's real novel. And then inventors not very often know that up to 80% of all technical knowledge is already contained in patent literature. Living and died patents, yeah, but in patent literature you will find these technical knowledge. And inventors may not have used, that's our argument for Excite, not used professional novelty research carried out by experienced experts. So it's, if you think you have invented something new, it's better to discuss it with experts, making sure that it's a real new thing. And you have to see that there is a way to go in the funnel from exploration, over patenting, and then to exploit your new ideas. Here you see some grant rates from the national and European Patent Office, and you see there is an opportunity at the end to get a grant, but not all of the applications are successful. But I bring you a very optimistic view now, because there's another misconception that a negative examination decision is equivalent to a failed patent procedure, and that's not the case. It's possible if you get at first, it's like if you write a nice paper and you have the first review process. Normally you get a second round or third round, and that's exactly the same with patents. It depends in some case also that you write more in the first draft as it may be necessary, or you can realize at the end. But if you haven't written this rich form, at the end you wouldn't get it afterwards. So it's better to start with the most possible scope, and then you have to bargain. And then you see the main steps and timeline of patenting, and you see that can take a lot of time. It's maybe longer than for paper publishing. We know we know also review processes which took more than 3 years, but normally they are not that long as we have it with patents, so it takes you 3 to 5 years that you get at the end a grant, or that it will be rejected. So it's an intensive process which you have to undergo. Another common misconception is that a patent can be applied for again, and this is another part of the definition. Patent duration is 20 years, utility models 10 years, and not longer. If you want to have something like a prolongation, you have to invent something new. You have to reinvent something, redesign. And so you have to start early with your research and development. We have currently in the news the Bayer problem in their pipeline. New pharmaceuticals are rare, and they have to have new ones which are granted and which they can offer to the market because they depend highly on these incomes. So you have to make sure that you have a permanent pipeline that can permanently invent something new, and that you can get new also patents. Let us come to the third myth. The patent itself already guarantees commercial success. Yeah, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful, then we all would like to do that. But this myth is not observed, that there's no empirical evidence for. Yes, we can say in a positive way that a patent can be an essential basis for commercial success, yes, but we know from empirical studies that only a lower percentage of patents are really successful. So there is a lot of commercial exploitation challenges we have to solve. Qualified validation and excellent market knowledge and so on is needed. And we need an innovative business model. We need marketing and all the other things. So making a patent really successful is very hard work, and it's risky, time intensive, and therefore it's not a guaranteed success. And here are empirical data from Scherer and Haarhoff, and they did a research on US and German patents from companies and universities. And they come to the result that the top 10% of sample members captured from 48 to 93% of total sample returns. So it's a very seldom study which you can read because they got the data of the real returns at the end. And that's not that easy to get, these data, so that you know the license income or that they could measure the growth of the share prices and something like that. And therefore, they come to the result in their paper, programs seeking to support major technological advances must strive to let many flowers bloom. So it's an argument for portfolio strategy. Yeah, you have to have more eggs in your portfolio so that a very few one will be at the end so successful that they can compensate the loss of the others, the losses. So it's a little bit like venture capital financing. So we can say. So the fourth myth I want to discuss with you is the patents legitimize temporary monopolies and restrict competition. So we have colleagues from the economic side here, and yes, we can argue it is a special right for a special time. Is this allowed or in a free market system, more or less? We should say, okay, is this acceptable? But we have to have in mind the next part of the definition of patents I want to introduce to you. It said that if a patent is applied for the invention is published after 18 months, whereby the knowledge is shared with others. So I showed you the time frame, maybe 3 to 5 years to get it granted, but after 18 months, also it isn't granted, it's published. So you have to see if you come with your product or process on the market, you are secured for maximum 20 years, but the others know what you know. Yeah? So you have to make transparent all your knowledge on this technology. So what they can do, the imitators, they can copy it a little bit, or they come to not copy it like that, then they have to pay licenses. But they can get new ideas, so to invent something in parallel, solving the same problem on another way. And they know deeper what you know and how you work. So therefore, it's an open question if it's really something against competition, or we can also see, also from empirical data, that there's some evidence that competition is not restricted, but rather encouraged. And I will show you this picture. This is not from the School of Arts, but it's big data analytics from the photovoltaic market worldwide. And there are all technologies seen from which are needed for photovoltaic. I didn't know that so many technologies are part of a PV. And you see, yeah, a rich field. And now the question is, who are behind all these patents for these technologies? Is it only one company or 2 or 3? Only 1 or 2 nations? Or is it broader divided around the world? What do you think about this? What would you mean? Which country may have most of the patents behind this nice, colorful picture? What do you think? Which country may have most of the patents? Mr. Berner? China. China, yeah. Germany would be nice. Any other idea? Photovoltaic? Sorry? South Korea. The interesting story is behind this paper, I was also really astonished, is this. Most of the patents are coming from US companies. Isn't that interesting? And then comes China, and Germany is between Israel and Mexico. So it's also for me interesting that there are so many companies behind it and so many nations working on more or less the same problem field of photovoltaic. They collaborate closely with each other, but it's also a lot of competition on these markets, what I want to show you with these nice pictures, so that we can refute also, I think, this myth. But there are also other ideas from modern economics of innovation that patenting strategies vary across fields, and very important, patenting is less common when firms have high market power. Yeah? So it's maybe better that we have more patents than we know that we have not too many companies with high market power. Yeah? Can be the other hypothesis which we can discuss. So we come to the fifth myth: patents hinder innovation. Yeah, there's also an intensive discussion, especially with colleagues from the field of open innovation, who claim for giving all the ideas to the market directly, share the inventions with the market. But There are a lot of positive arguments why patents are catalysts and should be supported, because encouraging the discoveries, information sharing, as I mentioned, after this 18 months, competitive advantage and funding, it's much better to organize, and also confidence in innovation. Breaks can be time and cost of disputes, complex IP landscapes and others, which makes it not that easy for innovators working with patents. There are also others on the market, and you can discuss this myth also from the opposite side, that you say, is there not another movement which is against patenting? If you look to open source or to open innovation, and nice entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, who addressed to the market in 2014 saying, as someone who pushed the electric car industry, saying, okay, I have so many patents on electric cars, but I don't want to have them anymore. Or if you like to use them, you can do it for free, no problem. He mentioned to push the electric cars market. But if you will be at home, please look to the web and read the stories behind this story. And maybe you will also say that it's maybe more a marketing coup, because he has more than 700 patent families for e-cars, and only 114 were pledged. And not for free, it depends, you can say, if you really can use them. And it's also to read that not the best patents of Tesla, which he offered. So you see, you can also give a good idea, so fighting a little bit against patents, but on the other hand, you serve the best you can get. Yeah, it's the same with the X-Star, where he also has a lot of patents now. Also, he is claiming against it. Yeah, another point in this context is that a common misconception is that patents can always be kept secret. As I mentioned, the secret period is only the 18 months, and then afterwards, it's not secret anymore, so it's a real open topic which you can discuss and where you can do also a lot of research on, as I showed with the PV industry. So the sixth myth I want to work on here is patents are not worthwhile for startups. It's another argument. It's said that it's too costly for young companies and time-consuming, hardly benefit due to newness and smallness of these companies. If they have to fight then against a big one, who will win, and so on. But there are good counter-arguments. This is, for startups, mostly the only significant assets they have. It can be a signal function for investors, especially for VCs, and it ensures that technology is truly new, which is very important for investors who have no deeper insights in this technology. So there are a lot of papers has been published and research has been done, and this research gives us a lot of arguments to refute the myth 6, because patents play a central role in the acquisition of venture capital. That's showed. We have a new empirical evidence from the European Patent Office. Current study shows that startups with patents receive significantly higher financing than others, 10 times higher. And we could also show in common research, Michael Ševčík and our team here in Leipzig, we could show that also startups with patents internationalize the business earlier and more intensive than startups without patents. So we see that they have a real positive impact for startups, and therefore we have to defute Myth 6.2. And this can be also shown by another nice example, exciting example from TUD, how this can work. Patents filed by startups, by spin-offs in that case. Here we have Novalet as a spin-off with almost 400 ideas. 50 property right families could be transferred. And we have this spin OLED technology, and this gives us a lot of advantages. The viewing angle, the contrast, the black level, and the foldability are much better or can be used in this case, and it's not possible with LCDs. And therefore, they are that successful, and Novalet is used in so many devices. And the current market for this technology are $43 billion in this year. So we see how inventions can be very successful on markets, and that it's so important that you drive this business with spin-offs and startups also by filing the patents and making sure that they can defend on the market. So the seventh myth I want to present is patents are reliable indicators for measuring the innovative strengths of inventions, countries, and institutions. Yes, we not seldom like to do so. As also our honorable rector addressed that the TUD has so many patents, more than the other universities. That's great, and we are proud on it. And in studies we have done, also in my former research team, about the innovativeness of regions or countries, we also use patent as an outcome variable where we could say, okay, regions, if you want to measure the innovativeness, then you could use maybe patents. Yeah, what else? It's not that easy to measure a positive outcome of our R&D and other activities. But we have to ask ourselves, is this here to refute it or not? And here we can say, at first, patent numbers themselves are limited in their information. So it's nice to know and nice to have, but it's maybe not that deep knowledge which we like to get. Therefore, we can add relative analysis, so we can measure the productivity of institutions. Smaller institutions and smaller countries may have less numbers of patents, but they are more productive. So if you read the statistics worldwide, which may be the most productive country in the world producing patents? What do you know? Or what do you think about? Which is the most productive country measured by the number of patents per person? Any idea? Sorry? Sorry? USA. Okay. Switzerland. Yeah, Professor Leo, that's the result. Switzerland is most productive in patenting. That's the point. So we can relativize the analysis. That's one point. And the other is that we like to know more about the quality and the significance of the invention on the quality of the patents. So we want to evaluate the impact of patents. So if you go to the research on high quality patents, a lot of papers have been published the last 20 years using different methodologies, from qualitative analysis to statistical methods, quantitative measurement models, and also methods to evaluate patents by building index systems. So we see here that the V is a measure for the value of patents, and the PC is a vector of characteristics of patents, and the POE is a vector defining the patent owners and their characteristics. So these papers and these methodologies try to find an explanation which indicators may be relevant for the value of a patent. So, and there are a rich field of publications published the last 20 years. And here are different patent indicators which have different focus, so the breadth and technological potential, so patent family, so how many or how often is a patent also granted by other patent offices, so the nation office, the European, the world office in other countries, US, Japan, China, whatever. The number of claims where the patent is relevant for, so the deeper technology behind the patent and so on. Then a very important indicator is the forward citation, so the number of citations in following patents which refer to this patent we are looking for the special value for. But it's also the backward citation, so how many citations are used in this patent we are studying. And there are also the PCT route, if we want to use this patent in an international context, and other indicators are also used. And we have different value dimensions which you can use, so more legal values or technological or also competitiveness or scientific values which can be measured in these models to come to a result which can be the best evaluation of our patent quality. As we know from empirical research, it depends. And we have a lot of problems in these publications. There's a high heterogeneity from the various measures of values which you can observe and test here, and it's a high heterogeneity in the number and type of determinants within each of the groups, PC, PO, and others included in the empirical models. And we have a high collinearity between these indicators which are used, so that in a current study it was nicely said that patent quality indicators are consistently inconsistent. So this is a nice qualification of these studies. But there are also newest approaches which you can read, which are doing research about these topics in a multi-dimensional field, also using machine learning and statistical models for analyzing multi-level patent data. These both, which I named here, are papers from China. China is now, and this I come back to China, China is now investing a lot of money in this research, searching for the high-value patent. Because, as I showed you earlier, so many universities are highly ranked with high numbers of patents. Now they see the problem, which of these patents are really valuable? And there's the assumption that not all of them are that valuable. And now they try to do more research to identify this. And they use also new methods. But also these two journals, if you read the text, then you see they come to the first glance better results than the others. But they are looking on a very short field, yeah? So it's very high focused, only one technology or only one sector. And then the AI is trained so often that you really could say, yeah, if if you analyze what you have known before, okay, that bring you maybe a good result, but it's not that competitive as it should be. But we have to prove if this new opportunities also using multi-dimensional models and using AI may help to interpret the big data which we have in patents. That's a good point, is we have a lot of data, but we have to analyze it in a better way. So I don't know if there is sunshine above the clouds. We have to see, we have to read these papers also critically as the others in the past, and we have to see as researchers to get, hopefully, better information about the value of our patents. This could be also very interesting for our university patents, also very important for TUD, because if you have many patents, you have high costs, yeah, to held the patents. So this can be very interesting research. So, but now, you have waited so long, and I think it's also not that warm here, so thank you for your investment, for your physical investment also. Let me come now to the case, shortly. The first statistic was named by Professor Staudinger. This is his nice statistics from the DIW, which we got May this year, showing the 15 most patent-intensive universities in Germany, and TUD is #1, so that's wonderful. And we discussed it and asked ourselves, should we implement a relative analysis, making sure that's really stable, this result? So this is what we did. Many thanks to Ms. Schenk and Dr. Schenk and Dr. Heinecke, who supported me very much in that, and also other colleagues from Excite, like Ms. Poland. Thank you very much, so that we got the data and could analyze, is this ranking also true if we look to the productivity of patenting of these universities? And we did it now only for the 4 best ones, because these are our most friendly competitors. And wow, there comes the result. The TUM is now not #3, but 4. They were very close to Aachen on the 3rd and 4th place, you could see. But now, if you look to the productivity, so staff members, scientists, and budget, now the TUM is 4, place 4, if you compare these 4 universities. And Aachen is 3, and Karlsruhe is 2nd, and Dresden is also in the relative analysis #1. Yeah, so thank you very much. It's exactly what we need, yeah, the excitement for the patentings. And now we come to the second slide, and this is for our prorector, for Professor Böhm. That's the environmental issue. And again, many thanks to the colleagues from Excite, but also many thanks to my colleague Jörn Block from the University of Trier. He's doing also research on these data. And what we could show now for TUD, not for the other universities, we are working on that because it's hard work to identify all the things. There are special information in the patents where you can classify them if they are on green technologies or digital technologies or other fields. And here I show you 2 sectors. That's the climate, it's the YO2 classification number in the patents. And the YO2 are defined by the EPO. They identified in a very intensive way which are technologies related to green topics, climate issues especially. And we see here on the left side, there are only 8% pure climate patents, but interestingly 4 which are climate patents, but also registered, classified in Y04, so in the field for digital technologies. So they have both classifications. And the ICT, the pure ICT, are 18% of the TUD patents of the last 10 years. And then we have, not the last 10 years, sorry, the living patents. So all living patents of TUD. So more or less the last 15, 20 years, but not all overlived. So a lot of some died or were sold. So the living patents which we have at TUD. And there we see we have 18% pure digital and pure climate 8 and a mixture 4%. The interesting story is if you look to the right hand, that more than 50%, these two fields, the patents which have here only together the percentage of 30% of all patents, have more than 50% of all forward citations. And normally we say forward citations are very important for the value of patents. Yeah? So they must have a high impact. And I think that's a good story, yeah? Also for the sustainability issue of this university, that we can say there are patents in that field, and these patents are very successful. So they have a high impact in that field. So we are doing additional research in the next time that we can compare it also with other universities much better, and that we can also share maybe data from other countries too, to make here better answers. And we have this DV study for the university, so maybe we can exchange also some information with them, and they can write it in their report. Then we come here to another goal which is important for TUD. That is the number of patents filed by female. And this is for Germany not very good measurement here. So only 10% of the inventors by the European Patent Office 2010 to 2019, 10% are females in Germany. And look to other countries like Spain or France, so you have a much higher percentage. So the interesting question is now, what is the percentage of female inventors here at TUD? The maybe, yeah, is it a good? No, it's not that good, but it's relatively good news is it's not better than the average in Germany, but it's better than the average in the nice competing universities which I mentioned before. So you see here our patents and the patents of Aachen, Munich, and Karlsruhe, and we have here the 9.8%, the other less female inventors. So there is a rich field for improvement, I would say. But that there is a field of improvement, and that it can be developed better in the future, I will show you, because we get from a Schenk other nice data and the patent office, and this is this statistic here. And you will wonder, why do we have now in the last 6 years an average of 23%? Also we had 9.8 before. The answer is the following. The EPO is counting, so using the big machineries to identify data. So they put in all names, first names from women and men, and then they calculate and say, overall, there are from 100% of names, 10% female names. So this is the average of all inventors which were named in patents. This is true. Here is calculated the number of females who are part of a patent. Yeah? So you can, normally we have 3, 4, 5, 6 patent inventors, yeah? And if you have one woman in the team of 5 or 6, it's other counted than you have, you count the overall numbers of females. So here can we say, in the last year, 24% of TUD patents were filed by inventor teams with at least one female in the team. So I think that's a better interpretation, isn't it? So it gives us the understanding that women are more relevant for filing patents, and I think this can give us an impulse to say, why should it be more in the future? Bring in more females in teams, filing together and inventing new products and processes together, and then we could reach much better results in the future. Here's another analysis we did in the last weeks, which I love very much, because another topic for the rectorate and this university is to ask, who are our collaborators? Who are the companies we like to collaborate with? And here you have only to read your own patents. And this is what we did for the TUD patents, and you see which nice companies cited patents from TUD. So who built on the shoulders of TUD inventors? And that's, I think, very nice to see, and we have also guests from one of these 2 or 3, 4 of these companies. And I have to say, we added one to say the mic that is saying, so we are very proud to have Zeiss with us here in TUD, and we wanted to have you on this graphic too. Therefore we added, but we think that because top 20, so we will work together that we will have Zeiss on the top in the next years, citing patents from TUD. That would be wonderful. So then we can also identify a number of patent families and inventors of living patents at TUD. So if you say, so the ranking of our best colleagues with the high number of inventions and high number of patent families, and this gives us also an impression where we are and where we hopefully can develop. The last point I want to present to you is the question if the technological profile of scientists can be also measured better. And here you see that as a quotation that scientists wrote in their current paper that we maybe also could think about something like a Hirsch index for patenting. And I think that's an interesting field. Here is a short glance on the numbers of our colleagues who have filed patents. So here are very few ones who have more than 20 patents. But there are also a high number of inventors from TUD who have more than 6 patents. And we only took the inventors with more than 6 on this slide. And therefore, there's a proposal for a P-index, a patent index for measuring the technological impact of scientists, where we want to work on. That could be calculated by counting the number of granted patents for which an inventor has been cited in other patents or forward citations, at least that same number of times, so it would work like the Hirsch index, but on the number of patents and the number of forward citations. And we could also find a way to implement the backward citation, maybe a weighted number of backward citations, to come also to the technological profile of scientists and to honor them maybe much better in the future. So let me come to a short outlook. We have future challenges and research fields. As I mentioned, AI and big data as enablers of effective patent analysis and patent management. Identifying new ways of firms' intellectual property strategy can be an interesting field. Mapping trends and prospects of new technologies based on patent landscapes, as we have seen it before this afternoon. And using new methods for the evaluation of high-value patents and high-performing inventors. And a short summary, maybe that I hope that dispelling the audience concerns that patenting might be a dry and dreary subject, that it can generate excitement, that we may raise awareness of comprehensive patenting processes for all who like to do that in the future, and that we encourage empirical analysis of patenting and strategic direction of this topic. So let me say the following before we come to the Q&A. Very few words. I haven't been a specialist on patenting, I have to tell you. I worked the last weeks because I thought it could be interesting to use this lecture also to understanding better what we are doing with Excite. Because we have so brilliant colleagues, and to get a better insight in this topic is for me very important. And I thought, match both of it, it can make fun. And I do hope that you could also see that it's really relevant and it's made also fun for you. Thank you very much for your great attention. Thank you.
So, questions to our guest of honor, questions to Andreas Pinkwart, please. Okay, there are multiple. Carl Leo, I think, was the first, and Ursula Staudinger then. Okay, you changed the order.
Carl, you should have gone first. You are our master inventor. Well, of course, it's neither dry nor dreary. We are deeply excited and we had a lot of fun, okay? And I was especially intrigued by your analysis concerning our own patents. As we spoke before, we have lots of them and we know very little about them.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
I find it wonderful that you took the opportunity to get the ball rolling, and the debunking of the myth also was very helpful for me as a novice in that field. Now my question is, it seemed that in your first step of analysis, you placed a large priority on one indicator of the quality of a patent, which was the forward citation. However, before, in some of the other papers that you showed us, it was a clear multidimensional approach to indicating quality. So is there evidence from research that this indicator qualifies to be the only one? As a scientist, I would want to see cross-validation, because if you look at multiple indicators, but you're only showing us the interesting results, I'm just making this up, of course. No, I would be really interested in building also this measurement in the end that you said. I think it would be extremely valuable for us to have a way to have indicators of whatever sort of this technological performance, if you like. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe can I show the slides again if, to answer your great question. Here you can see that was only a short overview on indicators which were identified in a lot of studies the last 2 decades. And you see what I named the forward citations, but also with this star, there's claims is important. Patent family has been identified to be relevant. Also backward citations in some studies, PCT route. Also, the legal strategy can be important. The problem is, like in multi-factor models from macroeconomics, so in some case, and there's also shown in papers that you have the multidimensional approach, but the additional explanation is very, very small. Yes, that's a problem. So it depends, and what I mentioned here was the heterogeneity is a problem of the indicators, and you have a high number of multicollinearity in them, in most of the studies. And this depends also on the different values which you like to address. And this is the problem that patenting in different industries address different values. Yeah? And it depends, have you a patent from a university filed? It may be different in the question of citations, the number of families and so on, comparing with other industries. So, and normally the studies are done with a broad field of patents from different industries, different institutions, and then they are not that good in their interpretation as they should be, these numbers. If you narrow it, and that's what the Chinese did in their papers, using also machine learning, and so they did it only for one technology, like for the PV, saying only we are looking only for special technologies which are part of photovoltaic maybe, and then we compare them. We use a multidimensional model to bring the special values which we want to identify here with. Interestingly, more or less, they identified the same as it were done in former studies, which were relevant. But the results were much more stable because they could reduce the multicollinearity because they trained the model in different rounds that much that they could focus better. That was the progress. But normally, it's critical, maybe if we could use them to compare universities, if this would be the sample, putting in only universities, then you could narrow the value vector. This could make these studies much more focused and comparable. Yeah, that's it.
All right, next questions were by Ronald Tetzlaff and Karl Leo. And then we'll go upwards.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. A simple question, are there numbers available for the patent revenue universities in Germany achieve and how that compares?
For which university?
The revenue, overall for Germany, you have very nicely discussed the absolute numbers, but is there any number available whether the universities really achieve revenues with these patents?
That's a real good question. There is someone writing a master's thesis at the University of Duisburg-Essen, and it's a woman, and she wrote us this nice email if we could deliver her the numbers. So she is doing research on that in her master's thesis, but we weren't really sure, Ronald Tetzlaff and me, if we could address the data to her, because we don't know exactly which data they will get from other universities. And the problem is that we can count the license income. We don't know exactly in the moment, so we need special assumptions and models to weight maybe the shares which we got for our patents and so on, for spin-offs which were founded here from TUD, and where we collaborate so nicely with TUDAG and so on. So then we have to work on some assumptions. But I'm sure this would bring us better results than all the other research which have been done. The only person who did such research was Scherer and Tahoff. They did a research, 2000 was it published. They got some data from private companies and universities, US and Germany, but they came to the result what I showed you, so that the high deviation and only a short number, 10% of the patents bring 50 to 90% of the incomes. That was the result of their study, but this was really profound because they had some data, and I totally agree. If you want to go deeper and if you want to really come to interesting results, how to optimize the business, the patenting business, we have to know more about the real income. Absolutely right. But, and if I may add, these nice journal articles are much smarter to produce because they only use public patent data. So they use normal methodologies which you can use, and now adding big data analytics and machine learning and so on, and then they calculate, but it's not really what we like to get.
Roland Tetzlaff.
Thank you very much for this really very nice presentation, and especially for the nice numbers you presented in your presentation. So my question is also dealing with the mathematical modeling of this. So you mentioned statistical methods, possibly they are also in the field of linear or nonlinear system theory, stochastic systems, and machine learning. So how do you value what can be an adequate direction to combine these two fields, or to better, let's say, work with machine learning? In machine learning, you can also, when you have a set of parameters or a set of inputs, you can calculate the impact of a certain input or of a certain, let's say, parameter on the outcome. So you can see the sensitivity of the, let's say, the measures that you apply on the result you have. So this may be attractive in the future, but what do you see? Should it be hybrid, or where do you see the largest potential in the future when looking on the mathematical modeling?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have to analyze the new papers much better, I think. On the first glance, that's my opinion. They bring us maybe some new insights because they can handle the data much better, but they are, on the other hand, very close to what we have seen before in the models, and therefore we have to see if they work, as I mentioned earlier, if they work as well, if we broaden the field, not only for one industry or for one technology, but if we want to use these instruments, these models, for a broader field of different industries and technologies, and if they work then that stable as it could be shown in this very narrow focus, then I would say that's a real progress. And I would say that, big data analytics with new tools makes the work for researchers much easier. So to handle all the patent data, that's really tough work, I can tell you, and it's not that easy to get these results out of them, and therefore progress would be wonderful. But on the other hand, only to say, now we use machine learning and now we use AI, that sounds very innovative, but if it really brings us better results and progress, which we really want to get, I'm not sure. We have to see. These are very new papers. We have to discuss them, and we have to see how can we improve this by using these technologies.
Thank you. Let's zoom in on Max 3 not too long questions. Markus Scholz has been one of those raising his hand.
Thank you. Thank you for your lecture and for rebutting the myth on patents and IPRs in general. I'm a responsible management professor, whatever that means. I guess it means I'm a management professor and I care about responsibility. Let me lead with a question here. My question would be, do you see any conditions under which responsible entrepreneurs should drop patents voluntarily in order to protect the greater good? And let me motivate that question now. In the pharmaceutical industry, we know that from bench to bedside, namely from the laboratory to, actually the bed to the patient, we would spend $1.2 billion US. Yeah. That's an investment. And in order to get that investment back, well, the company at hand or the entrepreneur should be protected. On the other hand side, the people in my community would say that, well, these patents, they would block access to vaccines, medicine, and so on and so forth. Mm. We've seen that to some degree during the COVID pandemic. Yeah. And BioNTech and Pfizer haven't shared, patents, IPR. Of course, one of the reasons, blockers was technology wasn't shared. But again, this technology was protected by patents as well. So let me repeat the question. Do you see any conditions under which responsible entrepreneurs should drop patents in order to protect the greater good?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I was wondering that during COVID, the world community stands that strong behind patent. And this was, for me, I thought in some critical moments that they couldn't do that. There was very high pressure, especially on Germany. Yeah? So if you want to give patents power, you have to have also an economic power, I think. And what I didn't show it because we had only limited time, but I'm from business economics, maybe very, very close to your activities. But also I have studied economics at the University of Bonn, and it can also have a look from the perspective of an economist on that field. And there I see two different schools. Yeah? An economist is more coming from how is the market functioning and do we need competition and all the other things. That's great. Companies are not coming from this perspective. And this is not part of our lectures. So should I teach a young entrepreneur to say you have to work day and night that we get more competition in your field? No, that can't be a good lecture. A good lecture will be that I explain them business modeling and saying, yes, if you want to be successful as a startup, you have to work off competitive advantages. More or less unfair competitive advantages. Legal, but a little bit unfair. So, yeah, that you can make a difference. Because otherwise, why should you get customers? You have so many established companies and logistic channels. So you have to fight against others if you want to grow. So patents can be an opportunity for small companies to compete better in the market. And I think that's the same for economies. Big economies, they can protect their industries also by other rules than by patents. Yeah? They have some market power. They can say, okay, then imports will be taxed higher and America first and all the other nice stories. Yeah? If you're a smaller country, then you have to be more agile in your activities, and patent may help you to stay in that competition. There's a real, for historians in this lecture hall, a very nice research done about the mid-age in Venice. Middle Ages, Venice, because in Venice, the first patent office opens the doors 1477. And they did research about the competition issue and who used the patents. And interestingly, in Venice itself, in the city of Venice, less companies used these patents because they got the special market power by privileges of the rich people, the aristocrats, and so on. So they had other opportunities to stay competitive. And outside Venice, the smaller companies who are not in the guilds that much involved, they applied for patents. And so they increased competition. That was their opportunity to get better opportunities. And therefore, I thought it was a real good decision at the end that BioNTech could use the patents, that they could invest now in research and development and so on, and that we didn't drop it away. So this is my answer on that. We have to have this patent law is a law for people who are really creative, who want to invent something, who want to also bring this invention to innovation, to people, to better markets, and therefore I think that they should be honored and that they should have a special right to do so, and that we have then also to stay behind that law.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, we need to shift our communication pattern and move towards the hall in front so that we can communicate and mingle informally and keep discussing, of course. To also express our gratitude, we would like to present two tokens which are typical of Dresden. One is the Dresdner Christstollen, which has another intellectual property rights story because it's protected and maybe only made and sold here. We can discuss the details of that. There's an association here that protects all of that, so it very well suits and something around, so it very well suits your presentation.
Thank you.
And something classical, which is a little star, the small version, that you can hang in your place and express that you are one of us, so to say, as much as I am, okay?
Dankeschön. Vielen Dank, lieber Schätzig. Vielen Dank. Thank you very much. Thank you. Vielen Dank.
We'll now take a brief picture here.
Ja, okay. It's a gift.
And then there's